Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to the Marriage is Tougher Than Woodpecker Lips podcast. This is Brian, joined by my co-host, Paul. We'd like to welcome you to a community meant for the men of the world to share their thoughts and perspectives on marriage. We can learn from each other's experiences and help each other be better husbands. This week on the pod, we want to talk to you about why are people getting divorced after 20 years?
Before we hop all the way into this conversation, we just want to encourage you to lean in community. So you can just search Marriage is Tougher on any social media platform. You can leave us a message there. We can connect with you and we can talk about this episode or anything else. If you'd like to go deeper, you can also go to marriagestougher.com, hit the contact form. If you'd like to be a guest, fill out the form there, leave your information, your name, and what you'd like to talk about. Or you could just leave us a comment on this episode or anything else that we do. We appreciate you. Now let's get into the show.
Yeah. 20 years, man. That's a long time. But also not as long as I would like my marriage to last.
That part. Yeah.
You know? So I've been seeing some videos recently, and this is a little insight into my social media feed for everybody listening, but some of the videos have been, waking up one day and not knowing your spouse, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kids are gone, you're empty nesters now, and so much of your life over that 20 years has been focusing on the kids, making sure the kids are good, putting not only yourself but your marriage on the back burner. And then that day you wake up, you're looking at your wife or looking at your husband, and it's like, now what?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Our kids are off in the world. Our purpose has been fulfilled. Do I even need you anymore? Right? Like,
tough, yeah.
That's crazy. And I think the work we're doing here, right, is going to help us avoid that fate.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still going to take some serious intentionality. So how do we not become that statistic?
That's such a heavy thing, right? Because we're about to celebrate 17. So in essence, that's 3 years from now.
Yeah, y'all are close.
Yeah. And I get it. And I think that's even harder for maybe people who had kids before they were married as well, because sometimes you don't get you're not afforded we were not married and together, right? Like your marriage, I think both of our marriages, we've always been married with kids. Like as soon as we got married, kids were there, right? So, right. So I think even when you're getting together before you're married, and you're no kids, right? Even if I think it's different when you're married. Like you don't have that. I guess what I'm trying to say is you always have that idea before we were married, this, right? And you want to get back to a place. But we have to realize it's now that we're married, what's the new? Mm-hmm. Right? We want to chase what was in the past, but that's never going to happen. We're totally different people. Our bodies are different. Our minds are different. Hopefully we've grown in all areas of life where you don't have the same thought process. Hopefully we've grown in our vocation, we've grown in our career, we've grown in our income. So yeah, hopefully you're doing better or at a different place than before you were married. So we need to take all those things into consideration, not change and not chase what was, but try to make a new what is now or what will be. And I think we get stuck on that. I think that's a thing that we can fall victim to, because it's like, okay, we didn't have kids, then we did have kids, we were married, and now that we don't have kids again, we're chasing back to how we didn't have kids before. And that's just not going to work. Right. So I don't know. I am processing this all in the moment of having this conversation. So I think that could be it'd be interesting to talk to people who have walked through this, um, and stayed married or didn't, just to see really what those factors are. But I think that could be a thing because that happens a lot in just life in general. Like we chase something that was, forgetting that we've grown past where that was.
Right. Right. So, all right. Yeah. So a couple thoughts. I was first thinking about status quo, right? I think oftentimes sort of just coast through life,
Hmm.
right? Like, okay, here are all the things that need to happen, right? In order for us to just be okay. And
Mm-hmm.
okay can become comfortable, and comfortable can kill you, right? Um, so what I am doing right now in my marriage is trying to make sure that our friendship is developed,
Mm-hmm.
right? I want to be in a place where I always enjoy talking to my wife, right? I want her to be the first person I think of when something good happens, something bad happens, anything happens. I
Mm-hmm.
want her to be the person that I want to share that with first and foremost. I want to have, similar interests, hobbies, all those things. Um, and I know we've talked about it on the podcast before. Like there's a different weight to a best friend and a spouse,
Mm-hmm.
right? But there is so much value in that friendship that can lend to the quality of your marriage. And I feel like specifically in my marriage, we've put so much weight on making sure that kids are good that we need to refocus a little bit and make sure that we're also good.
Mm-hmm.
So we're being very intentional about that. Now, in recent episodes, you've heard that we're in counseling right now. Um, there are some specific things that we need to work on, but one of the major things that I want to make sure that we focus on is um, taking care of each other, and just making sure that our friendship continues to develop.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think about you and I. Our friendship has developed over X amount of years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you remain one of the people that I consistently want to communicate with. I want to share my wins. I want to share my losses. I want to hear about yours,
Mm-hmm.
right? I want to cheer you on. I want you to cheer me on. I want to pick you up when, uh, you know, you're in some sort of funk, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all of those things have become reciprocal for us. Obviously, the relationships are different. Um, what I fear is getting to a place where I no longer want to have those things with my wife. And let me try to walk through that a little bit because that
Yeah,
sounds scary, right?
for sure.
If you become complacent in your relationship with your wife, I can see at some point down the road where all of those things that I enjoy experiencing in a friendship begin to feel like tasks,
Mm. Yeah.
right? Rather than a desire to have those things. And I think if I ever allow our relationship to get to that point, or not just get to that point, begin to get to that point, is when a marriage can start to die.
Right.
So I'm very aware of that right now. And I don't think we're in that place, but I've just seen it so many times, and I see social media talking about it so much that I don't want to adopt all of the things that I've seen in social media, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it gets very toxic, like therapists talking about, or so what was one video I saw? Someone asked a therapist, what's one thing that you feel is overrated as far as like what therapists talk about? And she's like, your feelings matter. I'm like, whoa, but what? Right? Like, how can your feelings mattering be overrated? And she goes on to explain a little bit about how we often put too much weight into our feelings, right? Like, um, your feelings can be real, they can be valid, but it doesn't make the situation the truth. I'm like, okay, that's cool, but if someone takes that to heart, they can interpret it to mean that, my wife's feelings, what she's feeling about this, I can understand that it's not factual or it's not the truth, right? So now it's okay to disregard her feelings. That can never be the case, right? Because if you flip it around, like, I'm sure we get in our feelings about things, and it may not always be factual or logical, right? How would it feel for her to just dismiss how we're feeling? So a lot of
Yeah.
words were just said.
Now that I think I saw that video too, and I was like, that makes, and again, it's one of those that makes sense. And it can't be a blanket for all situations.
Right.
So, it is, I think it's like you said, it's when I see something start to shift, I have to be intentional to do something different.
Mhm.
Right. And I think sometimes we either miss the change that's happening, or we don't we don't want to take the initiative to make the change. Um, there is just something about marriage and being intentional that, I mean, the marriages that last the longest, they've figured out how to be intentional on the important things, whatever the important things are for them as a couple, not a general important thing. So, but you have to walk through that with your spouse to figure out what those are,
Mhm.
right? And you have to really decide that marriage is the end all be all, and that will take you dying to yourself a lot.
Yeah.
Um, and I think we forget about that when we're talking about like the kids portion, like because we've died for our kids for so long,
Mhm.
then we're tired of dying. And we're like, we think, well, they're gone, so I don't have to die for anything else. Like, I'm going to live my life. But forgetting that your spouse is there and that you're probably going to have to surrender some of your rights, for the marriage. Right now, you have to die for the marriage, not for your kids. We're always dying to something. So I think we forget about that. And we want the butterflies of old, which can come back for sure, but you have to be intentional about that, right? What's the new thing that gives you butterflies? Because you've matured.
Yeah.
So I think it's just intentionality is so key, and realizing that you're going to have to sacrifice for this. Shift your focus of what you're sacrificing on.
Yeah. I like the thought about the butterflies of old. Is it necessary to lose those? Or is it just you need to be intentional about bringing some of those along for the ride?
I think it's a both, right? If you can keep them up,
Yeah.
but if they're gone, don't beat yourself up if they're not there, right? If you can't cultivate them again, think of what is new, what can be new. Because if the same thing gives, if you find the same thing gives her butterflies, husband, then just do the same thing. But if you're doing the same thing and it's not hitting, all right, well, what's the next thing that I can do?
Yeah.
What's those conversations like? And it's a fun exploration exercise too. Now, okay, like we've moved, we know we're at a different place in life, so now let's figure out what those are. Like it used to be this. It's like, do you even know what gives you butterflies? Wife, like husband asking the wife, right?
Right.
Maybe you don't, right? Do you know what used to give you butterflies? Yes, no. Okay, so now let's put something in place to both acknowledge we're going to chase after that.
Yeah. I'm having another thought about stepping over dollars to pick up pennies,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like there are so many things I think that really in the grand scheme of things are very small issues. And I feel like sometimes I tend to stick on those small issues. And I mean, at times that could be detrimental. I don't know why I do that. I wonder, is it selfishness?
Yeah, it could be many things. It could be selfishness. It could be um, uh, convenience in the way of that's how it's always been, right? Like routine, or like that's kind of where my mind goes. Like my eyes go to that. Um, so in the moment, it's not until it's called out. Like you don't even realize that you're doing it until you reflect. It's like, oh man, I missed that dollar. I got that penny though.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, like, ooh, shiny penny. But you're like, oh, that green kind of melted into the background. I missed it.
Right.
So it could be that. Um, Sorry, I feel like I cut you off.
No, you're good. I was
Okay.
just thinking about like how many things that are truly important for a marriage to survive, right? And it goes to another video that I've seen where they're talking about how one party or the other will put their happiness before their marriage. Now, the example I primarily see is calling out women for that, where they may be in an interview setting and they'll ask something along the lines of, you know, if you're not happy, would you leave your marriage? Right. And in the clips, so let's put this into context, they are clips, right?
Mm-hmm.
They will make it appear as a woman would leave her husband if she's not happy. Like just flat statement, right? And they try to put it in a scenario where they lead with an example, so like they're basically trapped into that
Mm-hmm.
answer, right? So again, take it with a grain of salt. Um, but I'm sure there are certainly some examples where that has happened, right? Um, but I think that leads me back to what are the important things that need to happen. Also, you cannot rely on your spouse to make you happy.
Mm-hmm.
That's an internal thing, right? That some people would argue that that's a choice, whether you can choose to be happy
Mm-hmm.
or choose to be sad, or you know, you can choose to be content or not. And I think what I've also and maybe I'm mixing videos here, but I think a good point to make is, what do you need to do to feel happy? What are the things? Well, sort of bring it back up, like the cop out thing, like the cop out topic, right? Like, why is it that we feel if someone isn't making us happy, that is a license to just stop working, right? Like, when did life ever become so easy that if certain things weren't done for us, we just got to stop trying?
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. When did that happen?
Yeah, I can't remember a time. I can't remember anyone explaining to me that, hey, the intention of life is for you to have others serve you with no effort on your part. And if at any point you become unhappy, they can be dismissed.
Yeah, that's wild. So wild, but you're very correct. I don't know when that happened. We can have our. That's definitely a different topic, but
Yeah.
we'll just say that is not how life works. Nor should we approach anything that is of value to um, have that thought process.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
if it is worth having, it's worth putting in the work, in essence. So I think it's the mindset that we have to stay intentional as we're being in marriage. Like, we have to stay intentional about marriage while we're married, no matter what happens, whether it's kids, dogs, outside family, other influence that may happen. Like, how do we stay intentional in our marriage? Like, I know you've mentioned, you've going through, counseling and all those things, which is great. But what other things would you say um, would be ways to keep your marriage on the forefront?
The chase, right? I think we often start chasing things outside of our marriage, but what if we made our focus chasing each other, right? Like, in counseling right now, we're talking about what are the things that we can do to strengthen our friendship.
Mm-hmm.
Because we really, I would say, don't have a ton of similar interest, but the core ones are very strong.
Mm-hmm.
Our issue is, with life being what it is, with kids and all that, we don't have a lot of time to focus on those. So now, where can we find that time, or what practices can we put in place in order to develop that? Right. So the therapist suggested, hey, get a babysitter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do things that the entire family enjoys. So while that might not be one-on-one time, it can still be time that you enjoy together,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, think about watching your kids develop and how happy that makes you. And I'll think about doing that together and just sharing a look with your wife about, like, oh, did you just see
That's good.
what just happened?
And I
Right.
think, yeah, even framing that as an option,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because a lot of times we think
That part.
right, we have to do stuff just the two of us. But if you get to both share those moments become memories, and that's a
And
shared
become
experience
glue.
for later. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I haven't thought about that, but yeah, that's a fun thing, just going down memory lane and kind of remembering those things. Because in essence, that's what you're doing. You're building equity of things that you've done together
Mm-hmm.
to strengthen when you're just together.
Right. Right.
That's really good.
And really just putting thought into where I thought you were going is what things are acceptable, right? Is having family time acceptable as
Mm-hmm.
quality time together, right? Um, if it's not solely that, what else do we need to do to feel like we've had quality time together?
Mm-hmm.
Is it, all right. And what I really love about what our therapist said the other day, she's like, if you had a doctor's appointment, the world stops, right? Like you figure out how to make that happen within that hour. Why don't we treat our personal time like that? So it's like, she's like, how mature are your kids? Can you send them to their rooms for an hour to 3 hours to, do what they need to do? And then you have explain to them like, hey, this is mommy and daddy's time, right? Um, can it be that you send them outside for an hour, which is in this world is still a thing,
Right.
right?
We can still go outside, guys.
Yeah. And then you have that time to be alone together. But I think where I take issue with it, or what happens in our life, is if we get that hour of time, we're like, okay, what can we accomplish? What can we
I
clean? What can
I
we
already
got to
knew
cook? Right.
that's exactly what I was gonna say. Like that's what we do. We don't think about it's intentionality, right?
Yeah.
We just if our kids, oh man, they've been outside for a while, yeah, and then you find yourself you're cleaning, you're doing laundry or whatever. But okay, be okay with just, hey, can we play cards? Can
Mm-hmm.
we, watch a show? Can we just sit here, right? Let's catch up on like what's going on in your life. Like, can we do those things? It's sometimes we feel like we have to go out to do those, but
Yeah.
we there are really pockets that we can do. And maybe it's only 30 minutes, and then the kids run in because someone fell, and now you have to parent again, right? But just take those moments where they are and be okay with things not being done because the things will always be there,
Mm-hmm.
but your marriage is the most important thing that you need to worry about, um, outside of your relationship with God, of course. But
Yeah.
take those little moments and be okay with it. The laundry will still be there.
Yeah. Or hot take, if you need to fill that time with tasks, how many of those tasks can you do together? Right? Like cooking together could be an intimate experience.
Right.
I'm gonna take that off of laundry because I don't know about all that, but that's um, I don't know, man. I think there is some value there. What are the things, if there are tasks that need to be done? Which of them can you do together? Share that experience. Send the kids off to their rooms outside. Create that time for yourself, but really put some thought into. And I'm talking to myself now. Really put some thought into scheduling your time together like you would a doctor's appointment, right? A meeting, whatever the case may be. And I know there's so many things going on. I've got 3 kids. All of them have sporting activities right now, right? We've got our own things that we need to get accomplished. But, at the moment, I'm thinking if we are all in the same place, let's say we have to be at the park for them to be at practice. Can we be intentional about using that time to just sit and talk to each other and make that time an intimate experience?
It's a good idea. Yeah, I think, like you said, just find what works in your marriage, but just be intentional for you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're intentional for you, that will pay dividends in the long run. So that you don't have to wake up and be like, who are you? I don't even know you and what's going on.
Yep.
So, yeah, anything else?
No.
All right. Well, we'll wrap this one up. Just be intentional with your spouse throughout your entire marriage. And remember that you're still married, even if you have kids. But yeah, thanks for making it through this episode. We appreciate you. If you got anything out of it, please leave us a comment. Searching Marriage is Tougher on any social media platform, or go to marriagestougher.com and leave a comment on our contact form. We really appreciate you guys. And we'll chat later.
Peace.